Hello class, my name is Joanna Serrano and this is my one-time speech. So the item I will be presenting to you is a record or an LP like this one. Records were invented in 1948 by Peter Goldmark and were pretty much relevant all the way up to, the late 90s, if I'm assuming more or less the late 90s, because you have to keep in mind that cassettes, MP3 players, and then streaming platforms now that are on our phones like Spotify and Apple Music started to replace them, right? Because they were more accessible. Well, a cool thing about records is that actually, I believe that Up to Date, Abbey Road by the Beatles, continues to be the most popular album ever sold. And it was also album of the decade in record sales, of course. And in 2019, it also topped the sales for records. And actually, something that was pretty cool that happened was that Billie Eilish's record, it was her debut album, When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We All Go, or something along those lines. I'm not even sure about what the name is. But anyways, that album actually went toe-to-toe in sales, and it's pretty cool because it's nice to know that musicians from today are relying on something that is so vintage in a way, but so relevant at the same time because it's music. And they're relying on it to sell their stuff. And it's pretty cool. And obviously, they're gaining popularity again. A cool thing is that you can find records anywhere. Or you've probably seen them in secondhand stores when they were not as popular as they're gaining today. And you could probably see them at your grandparents' house. Maybe your parents still own theirs. So yeah. This is some of my collection. This is some of the things I have in records. And obviously, this is the Nirvana one. It's the MTV Unplugged. And when you purchase a record, you might ask yourself what comes in it, right? Well, obviously you have the LP, you have maybe a picture, maybe something more special, I'm not sure, it depends on the vinyl. But for the most part, you have the record, and then you have a picture or a poster. And then this is the front of this one, so this one looks like this, and this is the back. You won't be able to read the titles of the songs, but if you're into Nirvana, you're probably aware of what songs happen in this performance. Anyways, this record in particular was called The Historic Performance that became the band's best-selling final album. And it was, because a year after this performance, the lead singer passed away, and this was the only album that is acoustic because they mainly did alternative and electronic stuff, nothing acoustic. Anyways, what's cool about records overall is how much work is into them. And today, musicians that are more new, or actually from this decade in particular, like Tyler the Creator, Lana Del Rey, Amy Winehouse already passed away, but you know what I mean. Casey Musgraves, Rosalia, they're working into the records a lot, or they worked into that, or their industry, or their company, what do you call it? I'm not sure. Let me refresh my mind. Their record label, sorry. The record label is working more into their vinyls, and they're putting a lot of work. For instance, this vinyl is purple. That's pretty cool, because generally they're all black. And then this one is clear, and this one has an awesome artwork. And what I meant by musicians from today is that they're putting a lot of work, is that the artwork also catches your attention. For instance, that album has a picture that is, if you've seen it before, you know Frida Kahlo, you've probably seen Las Dos Fridas. It's supposed to be similar to that one, because this one is based on a book. There's a lot of history behind records, and artists really work into them. And they're also really fun to have, because, I don't know, it feels like you have a legitimate piece of music with you, and you can listen to your favorite musician at all times if you have a record player at home. And that's pretty much all. This is my Works Cited. I actually got that quote from the Ringer website, which is mainly about sports and popular culture. Thank you for your time.